Oh yeah, it's time to mix the martial arts. UFC Austin preview show starts now.
That was kind of a subdued intro there, Casey, but we appreciate it very much. Yes, the UFC is back in the United States. They are in the Lone Star State. And tomorrow, UFC Austin goes down, and a very interesting, very pivotal main event in the UFC's featherweight division between Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett. This is actually a really good fight night card, and it's going to be in front of fans, and it should be a lot of fun. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live UFC Austin preview show here on MMAfighting.com. I am Mike Heck. Got the new background here. It's Beechwood. Beechwood is what we're calling it, but Command Center 4.0 chipping away at this whole thing. You still hear a little bit of an echo, but we're going to get past that. We're going to build something else. So hopefully that's going to be gone, and then we're ready to go from here on up. But joining me in this very special edition is the best friends edition of the live preview show. He's my best friend and yours, Mr. Alexander Kaley. Hey, buddy.
What's up, my best friend? Hello. How are you doing? How are you doing on this fine post NBA Finals day?
I was hoping you weren't going to bring that up, but since you had to be a jerk, I'm doing okay.
I just said, I didn't say who won. I didn't say who lost. I just said the NBA season is over. We're all, That background is that background real?
So real, dude.
Reach behind, swing your arm around for the viewers. What?
Hear that solid wood,
What?
dude?
Oh my gosh! I thought that was an illusion.
You'll never know, AK. You'll never know. But what we do know is that we got fights tomorrow. We got 14 of these bad boys, and normally we have to kind of pick and choose which fights are really interesting and really fun, but I feel like we got a whole bunch to choose from here today. I'm very curious what the gymnastic scale is for a card like this. This is one of the better fight night offerings we've had in the last years, I think.
Well, listen, I'm going to leave that I'm going to leave some of that to the listeners, to the viewers. I put up a poll on YouTube. What is your rating for the UFC Austin lineup out of 10? Normally I'll provide a range. You can only do 4 options on YouTube. So it's like 10 and like 7 to 9 and whatever. This time I was very specific. I said 10, 7.4, 4.8, and 1.589246. So people vote in the poll now. Whatever number is closest to your estimation of the card. I'm leaning closer towards 10. I love this lineup, top to bottom. I'm evaluating it as a whole, not just the main card, including the prelims. So I'm gonna go as high as to say, well, Mike, can I couch the statement carefully?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Is that acceptable? Okay. I listen. I'm known for being a fence sitter, and I am. I'm a proud fence sitter, but I need people to understand the context of the rating. So when you have something like, let's say, UFC 275, which we now looking back on it, probably the best pay-per-view of the year, super exciting card. But we say that because there's like finishes and there's and that usually happens when there's lower level fights or mismatches. I think there's a lot of really good matches in this card, which could mean competitive fights and decisions, and people don't always equate that with necessarily being exciting, but I like to see good competitive fights. I don't always want to see some 30-second knockout because the people are mismatched. So with that said, I wanted to go 9 because I love the quality of the lineup, but if we're just talking sheer entertainment value, highlights, and potential storylines, I'll drop down to 8.6. This could be an 8.6 if everything lands.
That's a pretty good score. I haven't heard you use an 8 point something to describe a fight night card in quite some time. So that's really good. But I think a big part of that is this main event between Calvin Kattar and Josh Emmett. Big one at 145. Of course, we got the title fight coming up in less than 2 weeks between Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway. And then 2 weeks after that, we got Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega. So the stakes are very high here. 2 guys who have not fought for the title, who want to lay claim to a title shot, and both would have very interesting arguments in Kattar and Josh Emmett. I love this matchup. Betting lines, AK. I know you were on No Bets Barred with Jed Meshew talking about making some picks and betting lines. Calvin Kattar, minus 245 favorite here. The comeback on Josh Emmett, plus 205. Are you surprised by this, or do you think right now the betting community has this thing swaying in the perfect direction right now?
I think the people are right. I think people respect Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett is a veteran. He's a great, well-rounded fighter. You know, he can sprawl and brawl. He's got knockout power. We've seen him end fights with one shot. The Michael Johnson fight, where he probably would have lost if he had gotten that knockout late in the fight. So people have a lot of respect for him. But I think Calvin Kattar, for a long time, people have kind of viewed him as someone, again, maybe not a top 5 guy, but someone who's almost like a top 5 gatekeeper. And when he was able to bounce back from that loss to Max Holloway with what he did to Giga Chikadze, so much faith was restored. And 2, it possibly raised his ceiling again. Now, not for me, you and I and the rest of the MMA fighting staff have kind of discussed, I think we have varying degrees of confidence in whether he'll ever actually, challenge for a title someday. I'm leaning towards no, and that's not a bad thing. I think you can make a lot of money being a top 5 gatekeeper, being an exciting guy, a guy who headlines UFC Fight Night cards. But I understand why people are optimistic and would say, for sure, if the cards fall right, he gets to win UFC Austin, picks up another ranked win after that. Why can't he be in there with the Volkanovski? Why can't he be in there with the Holloway? Why can't he be in there with whoever happens to be holding the featherweight title 6, 7, 8 months from now? It's possible. It's possible. Again, I would bet against it. Not that I actually bet on things, but I can see why. So in that sense, you said minus 245, right?
Minus 245.
Minus 240. I think that's more than reasonable. And then again, it's nothing against Josh Emmett. It's just how good Calvin Kattar looked in that. You just don't, we talked about it so much. You just don't see guys suffer, one of the most one-sided like beatdowns in UFC history, and then coming back and then doing something like that to a top a guy who was undefeated in the UFC. It was so impressive. So yeah, I mean, I think the bettors absolutely, or the odds makers, I should say, are absolutely justified in setting it where it was, and I know and why the line moved to I assume moved towards 245.
So when a lot of people break this fight down, they think that the volume striking of Kattar, the overall boxing pedigree is just better than Josh Emmett. Now, Josh can box pretty well also, but he has just incredible power. He could turn your lights out with one shot. But Kattar's just so durable, man, and Emmett can wrestle too. What's the one thing? What's the one tangible that sticks out? What's the one question you want answered heading into this fight between Kattar and Emmett? Is it just as simple as volume versus power, or is there something else that really stands out to you?
I mean, that's definitely a huge aspect of it. I'm a little curious to see Emmett go 5 rounds. I mean, I mean, Kattar certainly could finish him, and we know Emmett, like I said, he's got that one punch knockout power, could finish Kattar early. I don't see that happening. I think we're getting at least 2 competitive rounds, and I think we are going to see the championship rounds. And Emmett has not had to go there in the UFC. I think he's only done it once in his entire career. This is a long, long, long time ago. So I mean, he's shown he can, but also that's also a different level of competition. This is pre-UFC. 5 rounds against a guy like Calvin Kattar, who cuts that kind of pace and presents the kind of problems that he does. That's another story altogether. And who hits you and tags you as much as Calvin Kattar does. People always say you can have amazing cardio. You get knocked in the head. You take a few clean shots to the head. That gas tank just drains. It just depletes it. Nothing depletes the gas tank like punches connecting. So I do want to see if things aren't going well for Emmett in the first 2-3 rounds. If he drops the first 2 of the first 3 rounds, or drops all 3 of the first 3 rounds, will he be able to bounce back? Will he still be a one-punch knockout threat? Because that is sort of the narrative, the commentary we'll be talking about. Should it go to the championship rounds, and should Emmett be behind? Is like, oh, how dangerous he still is, and he just needs that one moment. And I think it's true, but I actually think if it gets past the third and Kattar is ahead, I think he's going to cruise. I think he's going to kind of cruise to a decision win. I have that much confidence in him.
Yeah, this will be the second main event for Josh Emmett in the UFC. Of course, the Jeremy Stephens fight. We all know how that one ended. It was kind of controversial. It was also very violent, and Emmett was out for a little while. This will be the 5th main event for Calvin Kattar, 4th straight. This will be the 4th 5-round main event. Of course, the fight with the now retired Zabit Magomed was a 3-round fight. But Kattar has certainly the experience, and all 3 of those 5-round fights, Ige, Holloway, Chikadze, all of them went 5 rounds. So I think it's a very safe bet. I think it's very fair to say that Kattar has the experience advantage in these types of situations. So we talked about this a little bit on BTL, but let's just say let's say Kattar goes out and just does what he did to Giga Chikadze. Let's say he goes out there 49-46s him, 50-45, something like that. Hurts him a couple of times, styles on him a little bit in the 5th round. In verse, if Emmett does something similar, how close are they to a title shot? Or is it just we have to wait and see how the title fight plays out? I mean, obviously, if Holloway wins, that changes everything. But if we're talking about the number one contender, because Yair and Brian Ortega are going to fight, I kind of take Ortega out of this discussion for right now because Ortega's fought both Volkanovski and Holloway, lost both those fights, pretty one-sided. Of course, the Volkanovski fight with Ortega, one incredible round that we'll be talking about for years to come. But you have to think it's a 3-horse race here. What does Emmett or Kattar need to do outside of just winning this fight to really ahead of Yair and just this number one contender discussion?
Look, it's so weird to say that Emmett's path to possibly getting a title shot off this is a little bit clearer. If he gets some crazy knockout of Kattar in the first, really first round, second round, he's going to get on the mic. He's going to call for a title shot. He's going to say all the right things. And he has the benefit of not having a recent loss to one of the sort of that quartet at the top, the Yair Rodriguez, Brian Ortega, Volkanovski, Holloway thing. It sucks that because Calvin Kattar fought Max Holloway, and yes, it was a lopsided loss, but that hurts his chances. But I mean, that is kind of how combat sports, or at least specifically MMA and the UFC work. Is in the minds of the fans, it'll be like, oh, well, we saw you, you didn't get a title shot, but we saw how you fared against a former champion and how you went, an elite guy, a top 2, top 3 guy, right? Like we saw how that went. So it's to Josh Emmett's benefit that, yeah, he has that loss to Jeremy Stevens, but he's also on this 4-fight win streak. We haven't seen him get his chance against a top 5 guy. So there's a freshness there. I know it sounds so silly, but that is how these things go. If anything, we should be applauding Calvin Kattar for taking fights like Max Holloway, for being one of the guys who fought Zabit in the UFC. But Emmett, yeah, he can really steal that spot, and in a way has a chance to get closer than Kattar can. Even if Calvin Kattar knocks him out, I think it'll be a tough sell just because the Max Holloway fight is still somewhat fresh in people's minds. Maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe I'm putting too much weight in that loss, but I do feel like that put a ceiling on Kattar for some people, while for Emmett, people still don't know what the ceiling is. So it's a matter of uncertainty.
Yeah, I think if Kattar goes out and wins a decision or just has another great performance like he had against Giga, I think if he wants the belt or at least a shot at it, I think he's a big Brian Ortega fan. I think he becomes a big Brian Ortega fan because if Ortega beats Yair, I mean, who else are you going to put in there? I guess you could put Cejudo in there, but maybe Volk goes up to 155 if he beats Holloway. Who the hell knows? But AK, your official pick here. I think you said it, but just to reiterate, Boston finisher without a finish. Boston finisher with a Boston.
I think so. I'm really tempted to say that Kattar can put him away in the later rounds because like I said, I think he is going to win the first 3. I just think he's just a better, more technical striker. The footwork, I like all that. And if he does that, I could see Emmett having to take a risk in the championship rounds and maybe get taken out that way, or Kattar just turning up the heat and not being satisfied with having the first 3 rounds. And saying I want to put this away. I want a guy away. I want to make this statement. I want to silence the doubters like AK Lee and the rest of the media out there who think I have the ceiling. And I want to get a finish, not just cruise. I don't want to just cruise to a decision. I want to get say it was a dominant win going to the championship rounds, and I want to get a highlight in the championship rounds. So I'm sticking decision. But I'm going to feel very foolish about not predicting a 4th or 5th round finish for Calvin Kattar.
Yeah, I think kind of going back to the question I asked earlier about the one thing that really stands out to me about which would kind of sway me one side or the other. Yeah, it's the volume versus the power. I get that. It's the experience of Kattar, but it's the durability of Kattar as well. The guy could take punishment. He could take a shot. And yes, I know that as years progress and as more fights go down, the more of these crazy wars and the punishment he takes is going to catch up to him. But I don't think it's caught up to him yet. And Emmett can crack, no doubt about it. But I think Kattar's been in there with guys who are a little more elusive that can hit just as hard. And I think Kattar's pretty much seen a lot of what Emmett has to offer. Now, Emmett could just mix things up altogether because we know Tyson Chartier, the New England cartel, they do things by the book. They have a game plan. It's very meticulous. Maybe Emmett comes out and just wrestles Kattar, just wrestles him to get the win, which actually wouldn't be a terrible idea. Kattar can wrestle too, but the credentials are better on the Josh Emmett side. Having said that, I'm still going Calvin Kattar decision. I think it's a competitive one. I think the scorecards will read something like a 49-46, but I think there's going to be a couple rounds in there where like, damn, that was fun and that was really close, and we have to weigh volume versus damage. I don't know, but I think Kattar's going to have a very similar path, because we saw Emmett fight Dan Ige not that long ago, and Ige, the durability. If you can be durable against Emmett, you can hang in there, because there's people who thought Ige won that fight against Josh Emmett. So I think Kattar can weather the storms, and I think he'll get it done via decision. It'll be a good win on the resume. Will it be enough to get him a title shot? I don't know, AK. I don't know. But speaking of Massachusetts and speaking of New England representing in the co-main event as well. Joe Lauzon versus Donald Cerrone, the co-main event. Legends matchup. So many bonuses between these guys. So much bonus money between them. Right now, Cowboy, minus 165 favorite. The comeback on Joe Lauzon, plus 140. AK, this has to be a co-main event, right? This is the definition for you. We're good here. This is not second to last fight in any way, shape, or form.
No, certified. Again, like we said, the criteria for these, co-main events, it's got to be like, is there an obvious like contender shot on the line? Even if it's, again, there's no guaranteed number one contender shots in the UFC, but like, could it be built up that way? Are there ranked fighters? Are there guys from the MMA Fighting Global rankings, or I guess the UFC rankings, if you care for that sort of thing? Or in this case, are there legends? Is there a legend involved? There's just one legend involved. This has two. I don't think it's an exaggeration at all to call either of these fighters legends. They are just two of the most exciting, longest tenured guys in what has traditionally been the deepest, toughest division in all of MMA. They fought everyone. It's amazing that they never fought each other up until this point. We were supposed to get this at 274, right? So this happened in Phoenix. But yeah, now instead we're getting strangely two New England, Calvin Kattar and Joe Lauzon in Austin, Texas. So I don't know. You guys figure that out. But happy that we're seeing it together. They weighed in. Fingers crossed. No more delays on the happens to Cerrone. But yeah, it's a fascinating fight. It's just amazing. This is UFC appearance number 38 for Donald Cerrone, number 28 for Joe Lauzon, and then that's not even counting Donald Cerrone's 10 WEC appearances. He of course wants to be the only fighter ever to do 50 combined UFC and WEC appearances. So he needs this one and then two more after this one to hit that magic number of 50. How's he going to look? I don't know. But it would have really been a shame if this matchup had never happened. And I love that Joe Lauzon is in the position where he just kind of can take fights whenever he wants. Listen, this could have main evented a fight night card. Cerrone still has that name, and the fight potentially still has that much excitement. But as a co-main to a fight like Kattar and Emmett, it's perfect.
Yes, two Boston guys fighting in Austin. Maybe they just the UFC brass watched the movie Road Trip, and Tom Green threw them off with Austin, Massachusetts. So maybe that's what they were thinking here, and they just kind of made a mistake. But I like this matchup for a number of reasons. Also, I like the freedom that both guys are bringing to this. Like, they're not taking the whole, is this your last fight, pressures in with them. They're just going to see how this thing plays out and go from there. They're not thinking about retirement. They're not thinking about walking away. After the fight, you can ask them those questions, but it just seemed like both guys were free and loose and relaxed. And Lauzon's just kind of handling this the exact same way as the Jonathan Pierce fight. Dana White said that, I said Joe could take this fight, but he had to promise me he's retiring. Joe never said that. He showed me that. I've seen the text messages to prove it. It was never like that. We'll see how this one goes. If it goes bad, I'll probably be done. If it goes well, probably take another fight. So do you feel, and we can never really know this, and only two people really know the answer to this question, maybe a couple more coaches and stuff, but do you feel as if the loser of this fight, this will be the final time they compete inside the octagon? Maybe the winner. I don't know.
I'll say this: we won't with if Joe Lauzon loses, we won't know on fight night. He just doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's going to make that decision in the moment. Everyone knows Joe Lauzon's one of the most like cerebral, well-spoken, like thoughtful guys that you find in this business. And if he's going to retire, it'll be like quietly, even if he lost, it'll be like he'll take a week, he'll take 2 weeks, maybe he'll tweet about it or make an Instagram post, but I don't think he needs that he needs to create that moment in the cage. I could be wrong. He would certainly deserve it. If he decides to do that, Joe Lauzon deserves to have an in the ring, in the cage, post-fight microphone retirement moment. I'd be very happy. I just don't see him doing that. Cerrone has a little bit more of the flair for the dramatic and is definitely more emotional. I mean, the guy, listen, he wears his heart in his sleeve, for better or for worse. Whether you like the guy or not, he's very forward and honest with his thoughts and opinions and emotions. And were he struck with the thought of retirement, should he lose to Joe Lauzon, I think he would. I think he would make the call. Do I think he's thinking that heading into Saturday? Probably not. But again, as someone, Cowboy, who has spoken openly about kind of like just the tornado of emotions you feel inside of you before a fight, he could be thinking something completely different once he steps in the cage, once the fight is over. I know he's not going to retire with a victory. I do think he wants to go for that 50 UFC, WC combined fights if he wins. But I think he will have to at least think about retirement if he takes another loss, because it's not getting any easier in there. And I don't know if I don't know if he wants to just drag it out just to hit some round number.
Yeah, I think maybe Lauzon will move on if he just gets run over, which I'll make my prediction in a moment. Cowboys a little different, but I think if they go out there and just have a 15-minute war and Lauzon loses a split decision, I don't think he's going to be done. I think he's going to be satisfied with that and felt like he could hang, and he still feels like he can hang with his young up-and-coming whippersnapper team he has over at Lauzon MMA, those legendary sparring sessions that happen on Saturday mornings, that part of the state. So pick time. Can Cowboy get it done as the favorite, or will Joe Lauzon come into Austin, Massachusetts as a plus 140 dog and spoil the party?
Hey, I was leaning towards Cerrone so heavily, just because he has, like in the past, probably fought the slightly higher level of competition. He's gone farther in the division. He's fought for a UFC title. But then I just think about, man, it really does feel like the slump is very real. It's not just bad luck. I mean, he's lost some good people. He shouldn't be. There's no shame to some of the people that Cowboy has lost to during this winless streak. But I worry about his ability to pull the trigger. I worry about his ability to take damage, to push through adversity like he used to. He's always been a slow starter. That's the other thing. One thing everyone's pointing to is, Joe Lauzon, fast starter, does a lot of damage in the first round, and Cerrone could get caught early. And while I think that's like almost too obvious a way to look at it, I also think that these guys, we know who they are at this point in their careers. I don't think they're going to surprise us. So I do think Joe Lauzon will come out hot. Is he going to put Cerrone away in the first round? Gosh, it's a gutsy pick to make. I will go. I will go with sort of the popular breakdown of this. I think a little clubbing and subbing. I think we do get some exciting exchanges on the feet. I think Cerrone's going to get hurt, and I think Lauzon's going to go in for the kill and get some kind of choke. And then after that, I don't know what's going to happen with Cerrone in his career. But yeah, let's go with Lauzon for the upset. And he really shouldn't be that much of an underdog.
Yeah, I mean, plus money on either guy would be interesting because I think it's a 50-50 fight at this point. But again, the Lauzon getting shot out like a pistol to Cerrone's very laxed opening 5 minutes just favors Lauzon in such a big way. I think Lauzon just comes out like a wrecking ball, and he gets one back for the Boston Celtics. I think that the New England sports scene will be a little happier on Saturday evening with victories in the last two fights for their fighters. I think Lauzon TKO round one. I think he catches Donald with something, maybe catches him slipping a little bit before Donald starts to get cooking. And Lauzon's just one of those guys that if he has you hurt, he smells blood and he puts you away, whether it's Cowboy or his little brother Dan, doesn't matter. If he hurts you, he's putting you away. And that Jonathan Pierce win in Boston has aged incredibly well. So give me Joe Lauzon to get it done. But again, kind of a wild pick. Anything can happen in this fight. Nothing would surprise me either way, but that's just what my gut's telling me. That's what it told me heading into UFC 274. And All we're giving is Joe Lauzon a couple extra weeks to prepare, but I'm excited to see it. Good main card overall, AK. We got Kevin Holland versus Tim Means. Love that fight. Joaquin Buckley versus Albert Duraev. Damir Ismagulov versus Guram Kutateladze. And then it's going to kick off with Julian Marquez versus Gregory Rodriguez. Interesting prelims as well. Outside of the two fights you talked about, AK, what's the main card fight that has you fired up? What's the one?
Oh, I could not love this Julian Marquez Gregory Rodriguez matchup more. I love it. I think both guys are either going to have like good, long, compelling, entertaining UFC careers, or accidentally fight their way into like a title shot or number one contenders belt. I think they're both so skilled and so like they have distinct personalities, which is always fun, and distinct fighting styles. I think we're scraping the surface with what people have seen of Gregory Rodriguez in the UFC. I mean, he's an amazing grappler, and he hasn't shown enough of that, I feel. Because he's got great power. He's loving standing and banging. He's loving getting knockouts. So good for him, I guess. But I do think we'll see a little bit more of the mixing of the martial arts in this fight, and he'll have to, because I think Marquez is also like a really talented guy. Who, you know, his quirky personality kind of belies that there's a lot of potential there. To possibly become top 15, top 10 guy with the right matchups. I think they're both, 2 or 3 fights away from that. I think they definitely need to, just sharpen their games a little bit. Maybe just focus more on their strengths than necessarily having fun. But while we're having fun, you probably can't do a lot better than this at middleweight. So I love it. Julian Marquez, Gregory Rodriguez, great choice for main card opener. And again, whether it goes an exciting 3 rounds or someone smokes the other dude, I am expecting a finish. Either way, I think it's going to be it's going to set the main card off right.
Yeah, you can make an argument for all these fights. I'm going with Damir Ismagulov versus Guram Kutateladze. One, because I love saying both of their names, Guram Kutateladze. Like, you just have to say it like a ring announcer, and then you'll never forget it. But Damir Ismagulov is just a savage, man. He's won 18 in a row. Dude has just been looking good, undefeated in the UFC. And Guram, we haven't seen him in a while. He's been one of those on to the next one matchmaking suggestions that we never really know how to implement him in, because we haven't seen him since the Mateusz Gamrot win. It's been a couple of years, dealing with some injuries, dealing with some other things, but he is ready to go. He's back, and I love this fight. 2 guys who could find themselves. I don't know if this is a top 15 break-in kind of a fight, but it's very, very close. It puts them in one of those types of positions where you look at a Brad Riddell, Jalen Turner fight, or you look at, Sarukian Gamrot fight, maybe not for Kutateladze, but maybe you could sell that rematch. Or you look at RDA, the Rafael versus Rafael matchup, and maybe the loser of this fight could find themselves in a matchup with the winner of this fight. So we'll see who's going to take that next step at 155. It's such a deep division, so talent-ridden in the top 25 to 30, and we will see which one of these 2 guys, these very promising prospects, will take that next step up the proverbial ladder. Before we go to the peeps, AK, low-key banger. What's the prelim fight? What's the fight on this card you have circled that maybe you haven't seen a lot of chatter about, but you want to shine some light on it right now?
I mean, this card's kind of full on them, but I'm going to go more a low-key performance to look out for. Jed, I did do the No Bets Barred podcast with Jed, and he really reminded me why. Like there's a fight on the preliminaries, a strawweight bout between Maria Oliveira and Gloria De Paula. And De Paula is a significant favorite, despite I think she hasn't. Oh, she's coming off a win. She's coming off a really nice decision win. But otherwise, like, is only 3 UFC fights in, and I'm like, she's 1 and 2 in the UFC, and I'm like, should she be so heavily favored? She's like, well over a 2-1 favorite against Oliveira, and I was reminded that Oliveira kind of has a Mozarovian record, if that's fair to say. Not that it's fake, but it's a little padded. It's a little soft. So the odds are what they are for a reason. And I bring this fight up because this could be a really nice showcase fight for Gloria De Paula. So I'm telling people to look out for that one. I think we tend to overlook some of these lower tier strawweight and women's flyweight fights, which I don't understand why. The divisions are pretty thin, so usually when they sign someone, they're good. though I guess there have been some exceptions to that. But in this case, I think I do want to see what we have with her. She is a heavy favorite for a reason, so this could be a showcase. Either maybe we get an exciting finish, or like a 3-round kind of styling by Gloria DePaulo. So let's still watch out for that one. You might get some unexpected entertainment value out of it.
Yeah, I'm not going to say Adrian Yanez, Tony Kelly, because that's not really a low-key banger. Everyone's talking about that fight, of course. An interesting wrinkle added on. Tony Kelly missed weight by 1.5 pounds, so 20% of the purse goes to Adrian Yanez. And man, talk about a rough couple months for one Tony Kelly between the cornering and the weight miss here. And Adrian Yanez is just going to be over like Rover in his home state of Texas. So that fight's going to be really good anyways. Tony's a good fighter, despite how you may feel about him. He is a good, exciting guy. And I think this could be a scrap for as long as it lasts. But I'm going to go like a little off the board here because no one's really talking about this fight. 2 vets, 2 guys who one has been in a title fight. One seemed to be like a couple wins away from a title fight. And then he's just had a whole string of bad luck and tough matchups. Cody Stamen, Eddie Weinland is a really interesting fight because Weinland's lost his last 2. He's been knocked out in his last 2 in the first round. Sean O'Malley, John Castaneda. And Cody Stamen has had to run the freaking gauntlet, man. All his losses in the UFC to the current champion, Aljamain Sterling, has the draw to Song Yadong, which a lot of people thought Stamen won that fight. Beats Brian Kelleher with everything that has gone on after losing his brother. Then he fights Jimmy Rivera on like a week's notice in Abu Dhabi on Fight Island. Then he has to fight Merab and gave Merab a tough fight. I mean, Merab won clearly, but it was a tough fight. And then he has to go and fight Said Nurmagomedov and gets gillied in under a minute. So the guy's been going through a pretty tough stretch. Wineland's been going through a tough stretch. I'm curious to see how this one plays out. I feel like this is, I'm not going to say the easiest matchup. That's not the right word because Eddie Wineland is a dog. But this seems like the right piece of business for Cody Stamen. I feel like every fight this guy has been in, it's either been against a guy that's probably in the top 10 right now, a champion, a guy who's going to be in the top 10, or a guy who could be fighting for the belt. He's had a very tough run in the UFC. He's not taken any easy fights at all. And I think this is the kind of fight we need to see, like, if Cody Stamen is the guy. Like, not champion guy, but if he could stick around. Because the UFC giving him another chance here. A lot of people felt like after the Nurmagomedov loss, the UFC might cut bait. But obviously they see something in Cody. They're giving him another shot. So the stakes could be high here. This could be win or go home for either of these guys. So interesting fight. I think both guys are going to come out like a house of fire, and I'm excited to see it go down. Of course, it will go down at 4 p.m. Eastern, which I love. Prelims, 7 p.m. main card, and then we'll have your post-fight show and all that stuff. We'll have the People's Pre-Fight show right before that, 3:30 Eastern, right here on the MMA Fighting YouTube channel. Let us welcome in producer extraordinaire, Casey Leiden. We have a question from
the past.
For the past, the post-fight show.
I think she does. I think she does.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to keep. This is from our old last preview show, but I just really enjoyed this last question because I'm pretty sure Jed went off about 10 minutes on how dumb this question was. Oh,
yeah. Sorry. For any of our podcast listeners, this is a question from last week, just asking about Tyler Santos' chances against Valentina Shevchenko. Do you think she could be her toughest competition in 4 to 5 years? And I was on the Tyler Santos train, by the way. So
were you? I think you were
big time.
Yeah, you were observing the train. You were.
It is.
You acknowledged you were the train.
Listen, I write predictions. Listen, my predictions, sadly, are in print. But in this one time, it actually vindicated me because it is said, like, yes, I do tend to talk up these challengers, but like this time, I feel really strongly about it.
He nailed it. He nailed the prediction.
Yeah.
Let's go to the peeps. Oh, what's the poll result so far, AK?
Oh. So far, 7.4 is leading with 47%. That sounds so confusing. That sounds anyone. People are like, what does that even mean?
Wow.
Let's just say of the 4 options, strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree. Fans are in agree. They are in 47% agree. This is a good card.
Yeah, it's a B. It's a B.
It's a B. That's what we're looking. It's probably higher than a B.
Grade.
Again, my poll is pretty bad. It's at least a B plus on paper. At least.
I'm not.
Did anyone vote for the?
Yeah.
Did anyone vote for the 1.58633421?
A solid 9%, and that's
what? How dare you?
That is hurtful. It's almost 1 out of 10.
That is troll central right there.
Yeah.
All right.
So you're talking about kind of low-key bangers. Cody Stamen, according to Tapology, straight up picks. He is the biggest favorite in the card, with 96% of people picking Cody Stamen over Eddie Weinland in a very likely loser goes home match. And I'm actually super shocked that Kattar and Emmett, the odds are so wide. I thought that was a pick'em fight coming into this. I thought, I don't know who's gonna win. It's no volume over power, but the betting lines and the Tapology picks are very heavily in favor of Kattar. Of Kattar having 86% people going for him. But take in mind
decision. Are they saying mostly Kattar by decision?
I'm not sure actually. I'm not on that page, right? But take in mind too just in the weird how people see Kattar and everything changes fight to fight. When Kattar fought Giga, only 18% of people thought he was going to win against Giga. So
yeah, I picked against him. His whole team was pissed at me for picking against him, but not picking against him here.
They got mad.
I definitely picked against them.
They didn't get mad. It was just they busted my balls a little bit. Yeah. They were it was
okay. Okay, yeah.
Kattar did an interview with me a few days after, and he gave it to me straight. I apologized to him too. I'm like, I'm sorry I picked against you. He gave me some shit, and then we were good to go.
I love being wrong, honestly. I love being wrong because that's how you win or learn. It's like because because when you're wrong, that means you learn something about the fighter you just saw, and I think that's for us that's the best we can ask for. To me,
I learn a lot. Anyone who's read my predictions, like week to week are like, this guy must be learning all the time. He might be the most learned man in MMA.
He's the valedictorian of MMA media at this point.
By that definition, Casey, I might be the most learned man.
All right, here we go. And my low key banger is Phil Haas versus Jaron Nguyen. I can't wait for that fight. I love wrestler versus wrestler. I love it.
I think you're in for a treat, Casey. I think you're in for a treat, buddy.
I was where he was the last guy to weigh in, and he came in with Darren Nguyen with 3 minutes to go, and he made it 186. But I was very worried he wasn't going to make weight.
AK, I think this booking probably hurt your feelings because you were lobbying for Robbie like no other.
Lobbying for Robbie, for Tim Means. Yeah, for Tim Means, we wanted that, and it could still happen. It could still happen. Of course, Robbie Lawler's going to fight in less than 2 weeks against Brian Barberena at UFC 276. But Kevin Holland goes out there and beats Tim Means, as the betting odds highly suggest he will do. What does this do for him? What are we looking at next? We don't have to make specific matches, but are we talking a top 15 guy? Are we that high on him if he beats a guy like Tim Means? It wouldn't be guaranteed. I think he could. He has the name for it. He has the reputation at middleweight. He was ranked. I think he is still receiving votes at middleweight in our MMA fighting rankings, which makes sense because he beat a lot of top guys there. He may go back up to middleweight. We don't know with him, right? He could become one of those fighters who bounces between weight classes. So So if you just look at welterweight, obviously he only has the one fight, but you have to include his middleweight accomplishments. He's looked really good against great competition in the UFC. I think this win does a lot for him because I think it's so good that they matched him up, or that he wanted to fight, however it came about. Alex Cowboy Oliveira and Tim Means, two guys who are super solid veterans, well-rounded fighters, guys who themselves have fought and beaten quality competition. And these aren't like sexy, but these aren't like sexy names. These aren't like, Kevin Holland's not calling out like names that are, that have a lot of buzz around them. These are perennial tough guys that, I think you need to beat to make your name off of them and to show that you are serious about being a contender. You're not just jumping, you're not just something between weight classes for no reason. So I don't know if he quite is necessarily going to jump into a top 15 or even top 20 fight after this, but this is how you build a resume. This is how you build a resume at 170. He kind of did it at middleweight too, right? Though he was a lot more active there. You just need to beat these tough guys. Yeah, he could beat guys who are a little bit closer to him as far as like how much experience they have in the UFC welterweight division. But I think this is a really, really smart matchup for him to take and for the company to put together. So I think it is a really big win. I'm not vaulting him up the rankings just yet, regardless of what happens. First round knockout for him, decision win, whatever, if he wins. But I will be very impressed if he can knock off Cowboy Oliveira and Tim Means in back-to-back fights. That's not easy to do.
What do you think, Casey?
Oh, I think I think this is an incredibly tough fight for Kevin Holland. I think Tim Means is super good, super underrated. I don't think he's a top 10 welterweight, but I think in any day, like on the right day, Tim Means can beat any top 50, not any top 50. I don't think he beats like a top 5 guy, but he's a guaranteed tough fight all the time. And I think Tim Means is kind of borderline top 15 welterweight, and this is a super tough fight for Kevin Holland. And I think Tim Means is a guy fans don't really appreciate how tough he is. But this would be super exciting, and I would think Kevin Holland needs to take this to the ground to beat Tim Means. I'd be really shocked if he can win this purely standing against a very mean fighter named Tim Means. But I'm a big fan of Tim Means. I love the way he fights. I think it's just he's just nasty. He just looks like he fights ugly and vicious, and I like those fighters. I just like he's not like a beautiful fluid technical fighter. Like I wouldn't see him in glory kickboxing, but there's something just mean about the way he fights, and I really like this fight. I think it's a super tough fight for Kevin Holland, but I am picking Kevin Holland by decision. But where's a win due for him? Oh man, I don't know if it does too much. I think it just, he gets one of those borderline outside, top 15 welterweights, I think.
Yeah, he'll probably be looking at a Ponzinibbio, Jake Matthews type. Kevin Holland, Jake Matthews would be pretty damn fun.
I see it. Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Tim Means is a good fighter, but this has Kevin Holland taking an early lead and maybe trying to hang on written all over it. Because I feel like the longer this fight goes, the more it favors the Dirty Bird.
I think so,
but
too.
We'll see. Kevin Holland's second fight at 170 in the UFC. He looked great on the scale. So weight cut isn't taking much out of him at all. But I love the fight. Let's see what happens.
I don't really like. We've got a lot of questions about this. I don't really like questions like this, but I think it's worth talking about, though.
Oh.
Four Quarter Sports. What's the likelihood we have Eddie Weinland, Cowboy Cerrone, and Joe Lauzon all retiring tomorrow? Percentage, AK. 33, 66.6, 99.9, or 99 or 0.
I mean, if taking the question, the phrasing of the question literally, all three of them, almost, highly unlikely. I would really doubt it. I would go like 20% low or lower. I don't think they all. Whoever wins the Lauzon, if Cowboy wins, he's definitely not retiring. That's almost, he wants that 50. He wants that 50 fights. WC, the Zuffa, as I keep saying, Zuffa. He wants those 50 fights under the Zuffa banner. He's not retiring. Joe Lauzon, win or lose, yeah, maybe. But again, like I said, I don't think he'll do a fight night retirement. So it won't happen tomorrow. And then Eddie Weinland is probably your best shot. He'll be 38, in a few weeks. He's 37 now. He turns 38 in a few weeks. He's got a ton of mileage on him. Hard fights too. This is fight number 40, pro fight number 41. And he's been fighting at a high level pretty much the majority of his career, WEC, UFC. Yeah, I wonder. Now, again, is he a guy who would do a fight night retirement? I'm not sure. I could say I don't know enough about Eddie to make that call. But I think kind of like I said about Lauzon, he would probably at least take a couple of days and then maybe give us an Instagram post or whatever social media Eddie Weinland happens to use and let us know then. So I'm almost confident like none of these guys will actually retire on fight night. The most likely would be Cowboy if he suffered a devastating loss. He would at least announce a retirement. Would he stick to it? I don't know about that. That's another question. But yeah, I'd say very, very slim chance that all three or even one of these guys retires on Saturday.
Yeah, with you. Will Calvin Kattar ever fight Max Holloway again with a few wins? I say yes. I will feel this one first. Trust me when I tell you, if it was up to Calvin Kattar, the answer would be yes. He would fight Max Holloway 1,000 times if he could. He wants round 6, as he has said in many interviews. Do I think it happens? No, I don't think it happens. Maybe if Kattar wins the title there's a possibility there. You could sell that rematch. I just feel that if Max doesn't beat Volkanovski, I mean, he could stick around at 145 if he wanted to, but I've said this before. I know Ariel said this maybe a week or two ago on his show. Max doesn't need the belt. Max is a big enough name. He's a big enough star without fighting for titles. You could just do fun fights that interest him. He could go up to 155 and fight Gaethje or Ferguson or even Connor or something like that. Like, I think he'd be more compelled to do that and just take on fun, challenging fights that get him out of bed. How could he beat Calvin? Like, how could he do it better against Calvin Kattar? Unless Kattar won the belt and Holloway just really wants to win that, like, try to win that belt one more time. Would he want to take that fight? I don't know how you could do it any better than Max Holloway did against Calvin Kattar. It's one of the top. It's in the conversation. It's a top 10 all-time great performance what Max Holloway did to Calvin Kattar that night. I don't know how you could do it better. Kattar would be super up for it. I just don't know what would motivate Holloway to be like, okay, I'll fight that dude again. What do you think, AK?
To answer the question, will Kattar ever fight Max again? No. I think kind of as you summarized, Max just has too many other options. He has too many other options. And speaking about guys who have a lot of mileage, he's had a lot of like tough fights, man. Whatever fights he has left in his career, whether it's 3, 4, 10, I don't know how long Max Holloway plans to fight for. Whatever fights he has left, yeah, unless it's for a title, unless Kattar wins the title, Max sees a route to getting it back through him. I just don't know if he's going to use one of those last fights for a rematch that he won pretty clearly the first time around. Again, it's super exciting matchup. I'd love to see it again, and I think Kattar would probably do better than he did the first time. I think Holloway would still win, and I think Holloway probably feels confident about that. So it's just not a question he needs answered. So that's a strong no for me.
Yeah, and Kattar got his licks in that fight for sure. He just got in like 5 times less licks than Max Holloway did. He landed the most strikes he ever had landed in his career to that point against Max. And Max looked like he was in a fight when it was over, but Max was just on fire. I don't know if anybody was beating him that night. What do you think, Casey? Do you think we'll see Holloway Kattar 2 at any point?
Doubtful for the prize fighting reason, more because Kattar would have to be kind of farther ahead in the rankings, and Max would have to kind of fall back a little bit, I think, for that fight to happen. But I want to see it. I'm not one of those guys like, well, Max won the first time, so he'll win every single time. I believe at the top level, it's much like the NBA. Like your team can blow out the other team in game 1, then wind up still losing the series. It's just, I think MMA at the high level is just that way. Once the momentum starts going, especially for a guy like Max, it was just Kattar just couldn't catch up. Now you get to start over, even playing field. Kattar learns from that experience. Right now Max is still just a better fighter than Kattar, but in a couple years, who knows? But will Kattar ever fight Max again? I doubt that. Just from Max is, like you said, Max just wants big fights. Even though he's only 30, we're talking like Max already doing Max is only 30. Like he's not past his prime or anything. Like
he's 45 in fight years.
Yeah, you feel that way, but you look at him, talk to him. He doesn't have that. He doesn't seem like he's worn down. I think of guys like Glover Teixeira. Like Glover Teixeira just kind of always seemed old. Like they were just like Glover Teixeira. When he was 22, he was still a 42-year-old man. Like the Guerras, they were just kind of always these old men fighting. Max still feels young, even though we've seen him so many times. So I doubt it, but it's a fight I would like to see. And if everything lines up right with wins and losses, man, good for Calvin if he can get that fight again. Because that's a nasty one. Because like that's 25 minutes that's in our minds. We always, no matter how good Kattar will be, I think we always kind of see that, like, man, he got whooped up for 25 minutes. Like, if he only got knocked out in the first round, we would be like, freak knockout, things happen. But for some reason, when it was just 25 minutes of that, it's just, I feel like that image is burnt into our memory a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And it was that moment in the end of the fight, too, when Holloway was talking to the commentators and was kind of styling on Calvin.
Yeah.
It was like no look hitting him and like playing defense while talking to DC. Like that's one of those things that we can't really forget either. But hey, if Kattar can get back to that fight, he's doing things really well. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that'd be impressive. Let's talk about the other side.
Does Emmett get a title shot if he knocks Kattar out early? I think he's got a very compelling argument for it. That's for damn sure. I feel like Yair. I feel like if Yair just beats Brian Ortega, if Volk wins, I think the UFC will lean towards that fight more than any other one. I just feel, I don't know. There's something about just seeing a fight poster with Yair's face on it, opposed to Emmett or even Kattar or Ortega. There's just something about Yair that just gets everybody fired up for some reason. So I think we're kind of at the point where we're running out of time for Yair to fight for the belt. They need him to beat Brian Ortega to get there, which is going to be no easy ask. But I feel like if Yair wins that fight, he's going to get it no matter what happens. But I could be wrong, but that's just the way I feel right now. Casey, your thoughts?
Yair has to lose Ortega. That's first. Yair.
100%.
That's just. I mean, Yair. He's always been. He has that it factor. He just does. Whatever that it factor is, that where you want to see him in the main or co-main event for big fights, Yair has that. Josh Emmett, for as good as he is, it sounds kind of cruel, but he doesn't have that it factor for just moving the needle for fans to watch yet. A big knockout over someone tough as nails like Calvin Kattar, especially early in the fight, that could change things. A great promo by Josh Emmett could change things, but Yair has to lose to Ortega.
Yeah. It's just crazy too, because had he not gotten so injured in that Shane Burgos fight, I think the needle was moving, because that fight was so good and he looked amazing in that fight. And I think people really starting to get on board the Josh Emmett train, and then all those injuries happened in that fight and he was out for so long.
It's a momentum thing for
kind of
Josh Emmett.
He
just loses momentum all the time, and it's just unfortunate for his career. But it's just momentum.
Okay, Emmett, if he knocks Kattar out in the first round, does he get the title shot over no matter what happens July 16th?
I touched upon it before. I still think he benefits from being like fresh is not the right word, because he's kind of been around as Calvin Kattar. They debuted with the UFC around the same time. I think Emmett a little bit earlier, like maybe a year or 6 months before, but around the same time. It's just that, again, we other than, I guess, Jeremy Stevens, who was ranked at the time, I think, when they fought, we haven't seen fans have not seen him lose like Calvin Kattar lost to Max Holloway. And the funny thing is, if Max Holloway fought Josh Emmett, honestly, it probably would have gone the same way. I think Max Holloway would have styled on Josh Emmett just like he did on Calvin Kattar.
Agreed.
But because that fight didn't happen, there's at least this thing in your mind like, wow, man, how would Josh Emmett do against Max Holloway? How would Josh Emmett do against Volkanovski? I mean, and again, some of those questions exist for Calvin Kattar too, but it's just because, yes, he's been hurt by, like you guys said, not being able, talking with Emmett, not having that chance to string together this nice, consistent run of wins. But he also hasn't had like these very notable, significant losses, except for the really, really ugly Jeremy Stevens KO. Outside of that, again, it feels like there's a bit of an X factor there. And people like, in combat sports, people like an X factor. They really do. So that's so I think he's still at least one more fight away. But I do think he can get himself right in the thick of that conversation with an early knockout of Calvin Kattar. Or a decision win. By the way, if he wins by decision, that'd be amazing impressive as well. Because everyone, including us, as we just said earlier in the show, we expect this goes 5 rounds. I mean, Kattar's going to school him. If Emmett wins a 5-round decision, that's almost pretty much, that's like just as good, if not better, than a knockout.
No, knockouts are better.
I mean, they're always better, but I'm just... sometimes I just say things to say things. I just say things to say things, Casey. I'm just filling airtime here.
I think for Emmett as a fighter and his coaches, fighting 25 minutes dominantly will be good for him as a total as a fighter. But in terms of promotion, they want that knockout. But I understand.
I mean, what it is like, it's like finding $1,000 on the ground. You pick it up and put it in your pocket. It's awesome. That's a knockout. A decision is like you find that $1,000 and you put it into some sort of stock and it goes up like 0.8%. Like it is better in the long run. In the future, it adds up and builds, and we look back upon it a little more fondly and more memorable in a way. It tells the story a little longer as opposed to a knockout. But listen, it's $1,000 either way. Money's money, and a win is a win. And Emmett will take it however he can get it. But I don't know if that analogy made any sense at all.
If Emmett does win a decision, if we get to see like just power striking, volume striking, wrestling, just good control on the ground, if we get to see the whole mixture of the martial arts, then maybe it'll be a good thing for fans and the promotion to go, oh, okay, Emmett, maybe he has kind of turned that corner and become more than just a knockout artist. Much like we kind of saw Jake Matthews last week, in the sense that we kind of thought him as not a mid-tier welterweight, but he was good. But all of a sudden, like, oh my God, this is a new fighter. If we see something completely new with Emmett and exceptional, maybe a decision will be good enough. But
yeah, I'm really curious to see if he wrestles in this fight, because he can wrestle. We just don't see it that often because he's bolting everybody. But I'm curious to see if he just goes out and starts chain wrestling and trying to take Calvin down, because if he does that, it changes the entire complexion of the fight. Mm-hmm. But maybe Kattar's team is ready for that. Who knows?
Yeah. And your wrestling just makes your striking better, because all of a sudden those hands start lowering. Gotta get those underhooks and boom, come over top. And yeah, it's exciting. Yep. It's a great main event. I'm super excited for it.
Excellent main event. Can we dub AK the purveyor of polls? There you go. Prince Positivity, POP, purveyor of polls.
There you go. Perfect. God, I gotta get that branding going.
Get a tattoo, AK. Get a tattoo.
You down with POP? Yeah, you know me, right? We'll get one of those.
Oh, jeez.
Shout out to people who got that. If you got that reference in the comments, type. I don't know what they should. What should throw it?
Okay, we're moving on.
Say the name of the group that sung that song if you got that reference. There you go. People in the comments.
Take it frame by framing.
There you go. You know it. You're a DJ.
There you go.
Wait, no one knows. Everyone knows who sang that song.
That song is so old, Casey. That song is so old. Do you know how old that song is now?
Yeah,
30. It's got to be 30 now, right?
Over 30. It's at least 30 years old.
Other people's polls.
Other people no, inappropriate.
That's amazing. That's hilarious. You have anything else? I don't know if we can top that. But... oh God,
there will be on Saturday.
I can't.
Don't worry. There will be on. Or they were on the last pay-per-view, right? On the last show.
No, yeah, it was mentioned, which was very odd because it was for Cowboy's fight, but then Cowboy wasn't there, so they were just doing these promos for Cowboy's film when he got the poops before the fight and he couldn't do it. So
right. Oh yeah.
That's what happened. So we saw the trailers for it during the film, and it was clearly because Cowboy was supposed to fight, but it was just kind of random.
Who was it?
They didn't want to watch it.
Look it up right now.
Someone on Twitter mentioned today that it has one review. It only has one review so far on Rotten Tomatoes, and it is from at PDL.
89% audience score.
Oh wow! And listen, and that's the only score that matters for a lot of people who read Rotten Tomatoes. So don't worry, guys. Don't worry about those hoity-toity liberal art house critics who apparently didn't even bother to review the movie. If that tells you about their credibility, this movie a chance. Mike says 89%. Now the other question is, how many people actually watched the movie before dropping a review?
Yeah,
I'm gonna guess not all of them.
People.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that they didn't all actually watch the movie. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all 250 watched it and left to throw a review.
Can you watch it right now?
I found the review.
How do you?
It's streaming somewhere, I think.
Oh,
it's streaming.
It's on Daily Wire, I think.
Okay.
Oh,
I found the review.
Oh wait, for free?
It's one sentence.
Uh-huh.
It's one sentence. It was from Christian Toto, from just a website that millions upon millions of people travel to every day. HollywoodInToto.com, who says, quote, Gina Carano, Nick Searcy add grit, gravitas to relentless indie thriller. Ooh. That's it. That whole movie got us one sentence and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 words, AK. An 11-word movie review. Hollywood in Toto. How about that?
Well, I want to credit at PDL MMA, a very funny MMA commentator, for pointing out that the one review saying that apparently none of the major torrent sites are they can't find it on there, so people are not pirating it, and that critic you mentioned apparently is a conservative, somewhat not well known, but a somewhat notable, not even notable. He's a conservative critic. There you go. I shouldn't even say he's notable.
There's
your free plug.
I'm on Metacritic.
I will not be
right
watching it.
No. I'm on Metacritic.
I'm definitely not gonna watch it.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen Top Gun yet. My kid's gonna want to see Lightyear. Jurassic
I'm
World.
gonna go see
I mean,
Lightyear.
come on.
I want to see. Don't see.
Watch.
I've heard horrible things about Jurassic thing.
He has to do it for the kid, though. He has to do it for the kid.
Our friend Dr. Alan Grant is back. How can we not go
Okay.
support our
Yeah, where's
longtime
Dr. Alan
commenter?
Grant in the comments? Where are you, Dr. Alan Grant?
He's saving or fighting feathered raptors right now, or whatever.
Casey, did you see this? Speaking of the cowboy, did you see this comment from CNC Comedy Factory in the YouTubes? I will read it out while you look for it. From CNC Comedy
We'll end
Factory.
here.
This is really good. Which of these upcoming Cerrone movies listed on IMDb? I have not checked this myself, so this could be made up. Which of these upcoming upcoming Cerrone movies listed on IMDb sounds the coolest? / which of these movies did Cowboy learn the most MMA techniques from? The Z Team, or the Z Team, as we would say in Canada. The Z Team, Tommy Taffy, Mojave Diamonds, or National Anthem. Are these real? I will look.
I'm looking it up right now.
These aren't real.
Mojave Diamonds is real.
Okay. Oh, the Devil's
Tommy
Grave.
Taffy is real. The Z Team is real. Devil's Grave is real.
He has several movies in post production. These bad boys are just ready to get fired out of the cannon.
Movies.
God, I hope it's Tommy Taffy.
Tommy Taffy.
I hope he learned something from the filming of Tommy Taffy.
You know what? If Donald wins, I hope he shouts out Tommy Taffy on the mic with.
Yes. By the way, I have the synopsis for Tommy Taffy.
Okay.
A neighborhood 4th of July celebration is interrupted by a ferociously bizarre anomaly who overpowers a family in order to teach them how to become better people and more compliant citizens. There you go.
Wait, is this like a family movie or a horror movie? It sounds like both. It could be either.
It's a little both.
Scary. No, it sounds scary. It sounds scary. Like thriller.
I don't know. It says horror
Sci-fi.
thriller, so
Horror thriller. What is it? An entity? What was that? A what?
an anomaly. An anomaly.
An anomaly. Oh my goodness.
Z Team is plot unknown, by the way.
Okay. That's even more
Mojave
compelling.
Diamonds. Oh, I mean the role that Cowboy was born to play, and I believe I see Chael Sonnen's face on the poster as well.
Of course.
Quentin Rampage Jackson will be in this.
It's one of these.
Well.
It's one of these. It's one of these.
A former MMA fighter and his brothers rescue their kidnapped family from a dangerous crime syndicate after $50 million of illegal diamonds get stolen. Mojave Diamonds expected to drop in 2023.
There's a lot going on in that synopsis.
It was. I want to see it. I want to see it after reading it. Amazing.
The Z Team, we have to assume, is an A Team riff, right?
It's probably
Not like a parody, but like this is the 21st century A Team or something like that, right?
God, I hope so. I hope so. Flying cars, like all sorts of fun stuff. Shoulder pads with spikes, LOD style, like just all out warfare. I'm ready.
Yeah.
We'll take one more if you got it. If not, I think we
one more because it pertains to tonight's fight at PFL.
In light of Steven's recent beard shaving, which MMA star would be virtually unrecognizable without their beard? Wow. That's a great question.
You would have said.
Imagine Hamza without a beard.
I don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to. It kind of hurts your brain.
He probably has no. He probably has like.
I mean, Zabit probably would have been the correct answer.
Zabit, but
pre-retiring.
Keep an eye on that IG. I bet we will see him. I bet he will shave at some point, and we're gonna see it and just like, whoa.
I think Connor would. I mean, we've seen Connor without a beard, like as a young man, but now he's like in his 30s, like and he's all yoked up. So I'm curious to see what he would look like now. I mean, he's had a beard his entire UFC run.
People are saying Arlovsky. Didn't Arlovsky also?
Arlovsky won a title without a beard.
We've seen him pretty, and my God, his hair throughout the ages,
it was luscious. Like, it was all the curls.
He is so lucky. Like he, my God, he has had so many beautiful hairstyles. It's just amazing.
Maybe someone like Paul Craig. Paul Craig would be weird without a beard.
Oh, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't like the sound of that.
That's a good one. That's a real good one.
Paul Craig, if you're out there, please don't.
It just freaked me out. Yeah, don't do it. Yeah.
That might be the answer.
Ground Zero says Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades.
Yeah, it's just not a yeah.
Curtis Blades would look like he was like 19 if he shaved his beard.
Now that I do want to see. That I do want to see.
Wow, this is a great question.
You gotta do some we need some filters, like no beard filters.
I'm stealing this for heck of a morning on Tuesday.
All right. Well,
that's a great question. Well, great way to end. All right. Again, 3:30 Eastern tomorrow. We'll be back taking your questions all the way up until the first fight of UFC Austin begins. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your Friday. Go see Lightyear. Watch the PFL. Hang out with the fam. Do whatever you got to do. For AK, for Casey, I am Mike Heck. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.